So we're going to look at the two together. I'll pull them out here. I'll make that a bit smaller. Yeah, and I'll move that over there. Oops. And I'll bring out the other one, which is, where we gone? No. Oops. I've lost you.
It's hiding somewhere.
Yeah, it's here. Teaching amplification, it's here. What do you come up? Oh, pull down. Open. Yeah. Okay, so we've got them side by side now. Unit 1. Okay, developing teaching and learning. I'll go through the unit aim, and that sometimes clarifies quite a few things.
Yes.
But the aim of the unit is to give you the knowledge, understanding, and skills relating to teaching, learning, and assessment, and education and training. Well, we knew that. But the unit aims to develop your understanding on the principles and practices that underpin the practical, the skills that you need as a teacher. Supported by some research that you may have to do and some use of a range of resources that you can appreciate the importance of the different approaches. I'm not going to read it all out, but it relies heavily on the learner being able to review their own skills, understanding through reflecting on their own teaching and practical context based on the planning, delivery and assessing of the teaching and learning in their establishment. This is why I explained the unit 3 that we've just finished is an academic unit, very much so. It asks for some reflection on how you would actually incorporate some of those into your day-to-day work, but basically it's an academic exercise. The rest of the units are not. They are very practically based, and this is why wherever I can, I've aimed at cross-referencing evidence and also using naturally occurring evidence that you've got, like initial assessments, documentation, individual learning plans, the sort of things, assessment documentation, all the sort of things that you will use, in your day-to-day work. And copies of those with a short explanation about them is far better than being able to talk a lot about it but not being able to use them. So that's the approach that the qualification takes. Again, it's to gain the credit of learning. A learner must be able to provide evidence of a minimum of 2 assessed observations using their own teaching that meets the required standard of practice. Now, the teaching observations, those will, if you do those, and I've got copies of those in your establishment, fine. If not, there is an alternative way in that if you could get your session, don't have to be a big session, if you get your session videoed, and send it on, I can then do an observation sheet off that as well. So either way, if it's possible, in your own establishment, that's great. So
that would mean another member of staff assessing me or videoing it and sending it to yourself?
Well,
one of those 2 options.
I'll send you the documentation that the observer needs to fill in. And they just fill the observation sheet in. And it's quite a simple one. A lot of the documentation I've seen for observing teaching is long-winded, and the observer ends up writing reams and reams of stuff. This actually just asks questions of the observer. Did this occur? And if you say yes, why did it? Why are you saying yes? So it simplifies it down.
That's good.
I can send you that, and that will make that easy. Okay, now as it moves on, it's talking now about being able to investigate practice in your own area of specialism. LO1's missing off this for some reason. Oh, right, okay, I'll put that back actually. On this front sheet, there is the actual learning objectives are missing. The assessment criteria there, which is the important bit. That means that this just is the outline,
Right.
So 1.1 is analyse the application of pedagogical principles in your own area of specialism. 1.1, analyse your own role and responsibilities in education and training.
Oh, so that's what it means. Because I thought that when I looked at them, I got really confused because I thought analyse own role, then also analyse the application. So it confused me with those. I thought they were different things.
Right, I'm with you. Yeah. And here, it looks at pedagogical principles, concepts of specialist knowledge, experiential learning, taxonomy of learning, mastery of learning, supported by learning, actively engaging in learning process and shared outcomes. So that breaks down into the assessment criteria here.
Mm-hmm.
You can use your own job description to analyse your role and what those responsibilities are.
Mm-hmm.
In your own circumstance. Yeah?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Not an academic.
So just something that applies to what I do on a day-to-day basis.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
These amplifications are there to give you some ideas, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Summarise the key aspects of legislation, regulatory requirements and codes of practice relating to your own role and responsibilities, yeah? So again, read
the Every Child Matters and those type of legislations.
Yeah, all the legislations that's come in. Health and safety legislation is in there as well. Equal opportunities legislation. All those different things that involve or reflect on what the teacher actually does, that have an effect, if you like, on what happens. Yeah. So again, read and respond the sections with regard to these, and what I put on there is in there. Shall I just whiz these down for a second? Why has that gone now? Here we are. I forget which buttons I press sometimes. Yeah, the one thing you can do on here that will help as you go through this unit, there are a number of, these are resources that are on here for you to use. And one of those is a SWOT analysis handout, yeah?
Yes.
There's also a SWOT analysis sheet as well with it, I think.
Yes. Okay.
Do a SWOT analysis on yourself. Yeah. And somewhere, personal planning and personal development plan. If you've not already got one, I would always advise you to start making out one. Yeah.
Okay.
Everything that you do, you can record on that.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So that it's formalising what you're trying to do. I mean, obviously, your intention by coming on this course is to move from teaching assistant to qualified teacher status.
Yes.
That's a pathway. And things that you do that will keep you on that pathway, you put into your personal development plan.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's a good idea to do one of those. Believe it or not, I've still got one. But it's obviously it doesn't get filled out as much these days, but it's there. Yeah.
Yeah. It's good to reference back to as well, isn't it? Keep you.
Of course it is. Yeah. Exactly. Where it gives you your journey of where you've got to and where you're up to.
Exactly.
It's just like your students. It's making sure that you're supporting them, and you are guiding them along that pathway that they need to go to. Yeah.
Yes.
So that they understand where they're up to. Yeah. And it gives them that motivation, and it does the same thing for yourself. Right. It's only taking one step back from there if you look at it that way. Harvard referencing is on there because one thing you need to do is when you use referenced work, you need to record it. Yeah. Okay. So you can have a read through on Harvard referencing. Yeah. There's a bit on command verbs as well because there's a lot of command verbs in this unit.
I had to look at that before I started Unit 3, and it was really helpful because it actually, I understand what analyze means, but it actually broke it down properly, which was really good.
Yeah, exactly. That's the important bit on this because, so many times not at this level, at level 5, but certainly at the lower levels, at level 3, for instance, and I'll get a piece of work and they presented me, it says analyse whatever, yeah, and the analysis is about 6 lines. So I know immediately there's an issue. From experience, it's not going to be an analysis. It might be a list of things or something like that.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah. So that's why that's in. All this material on here is just bedtime reading, really, just to have a look at it and see what's it. If it's important, use that, yeah. assessment policy.
I was looking through my level 3 TA folder yesterday just to see if I could find any old information about legislations, which there was quite a bit, but the quality of work that I did then and the quality of work is day and night difference now, and it was quite like listing things, and it was very similar to that.
It's good to look back sometimes at that, and it does show you where you've got to.
Exactly.
Yeah. So anyway, command verbs and PDP. Most of this is some of our policies, just to let you know what they are. That policy there, GDPR, which is the latest version of data protection, it might be useful because actually one of the legal on that 1.2, I think it was, it's the legal requirements involved, so a number of things that are in now, safeguarding policy, all that sort of thing's got to be involved now. So that's all the material up here is background stuff. Annexure templates if you need them, for different things.
I'm being a bit dumb now, sorry, but what are annexure templates?
How you can actually use an observation report, a template blanks, candidate learning log, professional discussion, personal development planning. There's one on there for you. Scheme of work. What a scheme of work looks like. Suggestions for doing that, because obviously, there's your SWOT analysis.
At the bottom.
I can go back now.
I'll have a look into those as well.
These are if you've not got them in your establishment. If you've already got initial assessment documentation, if you've already got those, use those. These are just for people where material for recording things is a bit thin on the ground. Believe it or not, some establishments are a bit thin on the ground.
I started my placement this week. I did 2 days, and then I got a call from my previous employers offering me a job for. And I was like, everything just happened at once, so they wanted me to do full time. But I've told them that I'm available till 3 p.m. because I've got to pick my own kids up. So I'm just waiting to see. So just that everything comes in one step, doesn't it?
It's like buses. You wait for ages, then 3 come at once.
And then exactly.
But again, as you move forward in your own development, things occur. It was like when I transitioned out of engineering into teaching. It almost happened as though it was by magic. What it boiled down to in the end, the people that I needed to help me suddenly appeared out of the woodwork. But on reflection, they were already there. I wasn't just looking before. And it's only when you start to look that things start to happen. Exactly,
that's true.
Even now at my age, people ring me up, would you like to do this? Can you do that? Would you do this for us?
Because it's very difficult to find someone with experience, though, isn't it? And someone who knows what they're doing.
This is the issue. And this is why courses like this one are so important, because it's not just an academic exercise. It gives you the nuts and bolts of how you're actually going to go about this, and it gives you that really good start, and it gives you that confidence forward.
Because I've seen the difference in, because I worked in the same place for placements both times. When I was doing my TA things, I was treated like a spare part at that time. And barely talked to, barely. This time they've been teachers and teaching assistants coming and say, right, you're going to come with me. I've even been, on my second day there, I was actually marking students' work in their exercise book. So it's a complete difference. I think it is to do with the course that I'm on as well. And I know that I already have the experience, so it is.
Well, this is it. As you get further into that, the more experience you get, the more confidence you get, and the more every time you ask them, could you do such and such a thing? Not just enthusiasm. You're going to be saying, yeah, I can do that. Or conversely, no, I can't do that. I don't fully understand that, and then they'll say, okay, we'll show you how to do it, and that's how you pick things up. But it's having that go-to attitude to say, yeah, I'll do that, I'll have a go at that. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So we've done the we've got those two sheets out. I'll go back again now. Yep. And where's the other one gone? Oops. So evaluate the effectiveness and creative approaches in all areas of specialism. Summarise the aspects of legislation, regulatory requirements, codes of practice relating to your own role and responsibility. So there's a whole bunch of those you can look up on there. There's some material on the VLE on it to look at that as well in terms of legislation. Analyse the relationships and boundaries between the teaching role and other professional roles. So, like I've said, it may be that in a situation you don't do an initial assessment, but that is the specific responsibility of certain members of staff, and they do that role and pass that information on to the teacher. Other places you will do your own, or you will take it in turns on new groups and things like that. But it depends on your particular establishment and how they work. So again, an easy way of that is an organogram, an explanation and analysis of who does what, who is who, and what they do. Okay? Yeah. Because you've got all the non-teaching staff, the support staff, admin, all that sort of thing. Those are the boundaries and between those roles. And again, describe the points of referral to meet the needs of learners.
I would need 2 ILPs for that, wouldn't I?
Sorry?
I would need individual learning plans for that 1.4, wouldn't I?
Yes, but also you can take it further. It said use your current workplace, school policies, documents, procedures to describe the needs of learners, or this is for people in a working establishment as well, or workers internally and externally.
Okay.
But also you will find, as a teacher, if you've got a group and it's becoming obvious that there's an issue with one of your learners.
Take this. Give it to. Thank you. Goodbye. Yes. Sorry.
Okay. Don't worry. If it's something that's not been missed or not picked up, how you actually refer that and who you go to, and it's knowing how to do that. I mean, if there was I'm trying to think of an issue. Yeah, if there was a social issue, the kid was coming in with bruises or coming in with how you would actually go. You need to know how you would do that. Obviously, it's not your job to go and speak to the parents or anything of that nature. But
there will be go through the chain of command, isn't it?
Yeah, you've got to look at that and where that works. Yeah. So 2.1. Why is it important to identify and meet the individual needs of learners? Read and respond, referring to initial assessment and how that goes on. And if you do diagnostics as well, you can get copies of those. So, and then analyse the role and use of initial and diagnostic assessments in agreeing individual learning goals. So what I would suggest is the hard copy evidence that you're gonna copy for this. Make sure when you copy it, it doesn't have the learner's name in.
Yes. Okay.
Just as learner A. People who are involved with signatures on, that's fine.
Right.
They don't need. They can't be blank documents. They need to be working documents. Yeah.
Okay.
So that way, the copies are put on to cover most of this. Copies of 2 learners. Initial assessments, diagnostics if they're there, not necessarily if they're not, with an explanation of how the process happens, right? Yeah, up to teaching.
Yes.
Copies of 2 learners' ILPs that's been produced from the initial assessment. Ostensibly, I put on here 1 having a learning issue.
Yeah.
Now, I think we briefly discussed that. I know it was in the other group. The reason I put that in there is that later on, when you've got a lesson plan that you've shown me, you will have to show how you would adapt that for a learner with a specific issue. Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Now, if you've not got a learner with a specific issue, that's fine. You can determine one. You're going to say, okay, one of my learners has a sight problem or a hearing problem or dyslexia or something of that nature, so that you can then show later on how you would adapt the learning or the method of delivery for that particular learner in equality and diversity, making sure that everybody is kept in the same class.
So with the two ILPs, I would need that for 2.3 and 2.4, wouldn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And of course, you can refer to it in your analysis of initial assessment and diagnostic assessment in agreeing individual learning goals. And again, once you've done that assessment, agreeing the individual learning goals is the ILP. Yeah. Yeah. So basically, once you've got those documents in this analysis, you can refer to them. You can. What I would suggest is that, going back to 1.1, use your current job description. If you've got one of those and a copy of that, put that in. That'll be Appendix 1. Yeah.
Yes, I think I might have one from my old role. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But it's just doing an analysis of that. So, it'll list all the things you need to do, and you analyse how you actually get through that. Yeah.
Because sorry to go on about it. Because when I've previous was applying for jobs, they had a person specification. That could be it, couldn't I? Just analyse it from that person's
specification is what they want.
Yes.
What they would like. Sorry.
Yes.
The job description is the actual work you're going to have to do. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the difference between those two. Yeah?
Okay.
So the current job description to analyse your role and responsibilities. So that's what your role is, what you do, and what the responsibilities are within that role.
Yeah.
So coming back to that, we can then we've done points of referral. Use your current workplace, school, college documents, etc. Initial assessment, analysis using copies of initial assessment diagnostic for 2 learners. Again, the ILPs for 2 learners, and they'll be then Appendix 2, Appendix 3, Appendix 4, and just keep numbering them. You don't have to name them. Yeah.
Okay.
Just name appendix. You can put in on your script C Appendix 2, and you've got those as separate appendices, and I can then just pick them up. I don't even need to know what it is, but you've referred to it there. I can have a look at it and see
which one.
So and again, the learning issue can be invented to show adaptation later in the unit. Okay. Now, I'm going to go on to LO3 because it does follow on from what everything follows on, it rolls on. If you look at it, the initial is an oblique thing about what your role is and what you do. The next thing is how you bring students or learners into the teaching situation before you actually start to teach. Then you start to teach. Now, if you start to teach, you need a scheme of work. Yeah. Now, I'm assuming that you will have a scheme of work.
Yeah.
Good. Then you've got a scheme of work already. You can put me a copy of that. Yeah, or you can put a copy of that as an appendix. Yeah. And then devise a scheme of work that in accordance with internal and external requirements. Copies of at least 1 unit or module scheme of work, an explanation of how you have gathered internal and external requirements or how they fit in to that that piece of documentation. Following on from that, once you've got your scheme of work, you then have lesson plans. So design, teaching and lesson plans which respond to the individual needs of your learners and curriculum requirements. Yeah? Copies of your lesson plan and describe where and how you use these plans.
Okay.
Now, I'm not going to go beyond that tonight. There's a lot of work there. Yeah. I mean, 3 point, what's it goes down into? There are 5 assessment strategies on that. But the first 2 follow on from the bit you've done before. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a follow on thing, and it's all part of the same context. Once you get past 3 point 3, or once you move on to 3.3, it's changing the direction slightly. Yeah. So we'll stop at that point there. So I'll quickly go back over what we've said. So it's looking at the current job description, read and respond to the different sections on there, use the documentation that's on the VLE. If you've not got the documentation, if you've got your own, use that by all means, yeah. You'll be happy with that, you'll be comfortable with it, and you'll understand it better than I will. Your organogram with an explanation of who does what and so forth. School, college and school or college policies or works policies and procedures that describe the needs of learners from internal and external points of view. Yeah. Explain why it's important to identify. So respond, referring to your initial assessment process and documentation. Yeah. Your analysis of using copies of initial assessment and diagnostic tests for at least 2 learners required with an explanation of the process to admission, from admission leading to teaching. Yeah.
Okay.
That's all we should say from. And again, copies of 2 learners ILPs. Determine whether one's going to have an issue and what that issue is. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Following on from there is a copy of your scheme of work and a copy of well, I would normally use our lesson plan, yeah, and then explain on that lesson plan how you're going to deal with the learner that's got an issue.
Yeah. Okay.
You can then actually refer to that later on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a couple of things in there, yeah. So that is, in a nutshell,
okay. With that.
The first unit.
I'm just thinking that hopefully I can get them to organise the paperwork for me pretty soon, so I can get down with it. Just getting them to get the paperwork accessible. That's all the issue I'm thinking about at the moment.
Usually, I find that if you once you ask, and they know what you're doing, explain what you're doing by all means, and then once you ask, usually people are most helpful.
Yes.
At least that's how I find that anyway. Sometimes when they're not, it's usually me that's asked the wrong way.
Right, yeah, that's true. I'll just be super polite. Thank you.
So, are you okay with that now, to make a start?
That's good, because I've understood what the amplification is in regard to this now. So, it's
that sheet is an idea sheet as much as anything else. This one, I've tried to keep it to practicalities. Yeah. Yeah. That one I've got from elsewhere. This one is one I've devised myself. So it's up to you. You can tweak between the two, and have a look at what they say, and that'll probably be the most helpful, as it probably was in Unit 3. Yeah.
Okay.
There will be, as we move on through the unit, pieces that will cross over from the evidence you've already produced. So we'll pick that up when we get to it.
Okay, no, that's fine.
So if that's early finished tonight, aren't we? It's running now.
I know, it's quick today, aren't we?
Yeah. Mind you, we're on that on time, and it's a fairly straightforward bit. This it's getting you to understand what LO1 and LO2 are asking you to do. Yeah. Once you've got that settled in your mind, it's then a question of just gathering the evidence together and talking about it. Yeah,
because the actual writing part seems fairly simple and straight, especially compared to Unit 3. It seems really simple and straightforward.
That's what I said. That's why Unit 3's gone in first now, because it's quite heavy.
Yeah.
And of course this is as well, but in a different way.
Exactly.
You'll probably find you're writing more because it's something you know about.
Yeah.
And you'll tend to write more than you actually need to do. But I'll point that out to you if you're doing that.
But there'll be less head scratching trying to go through the internet finding a whole lot of information I know nothing about, which will be a lot better. Yeah.
Well, actually, it's a good way of doing research, that, because you can find a lot of information out fairly quickly, just going on the net, just by putting a name in and seeing what comes up. And
I like the 1.3 and 1.4 because it makes me get back in touch with policies which you should be in touch with anyway when working in the school, shouldn't you? Yeah.
Yeah. 1.2 is all about the up-to-date requirements. So this is where, you know, things like prevent and that sort of thing that have come in that we have to be aware of as well. Obviously, even though we're teaching adults who may have been got at or radicalised or whatever you want to say, yeah, we've got to be aware of that situation, obviously.
Yeah.
Okay, if we've no more questions for tonight, I will call that a draw for now, and obviously get in touch if you need. Mail me or text me if you've got an issue that I can.
Thank you so much.
Okay, no problem at all. Good luck with that.
Thank you.
Bye for now.
Bye.